All right, we're live on Monero Talk with Brad Mines. Brad reached out to me through Twitter. He's a Monero guy. I assume a Bitcoin guy as well. I don't know what other cryptos he dabbles in, but he just wanted to talk crypto. And I was like, yeah, why not? Let's just have a little conversation. It's Friday afternoon. I got my drink. Brad has his. And we're meeting each other for the first time, other than the 30 seconds we had before we hit the button. Brad, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure thing. So for everybody who doesn't know me, I'm Brad Mines. You can find me on Twitter at Bit5Warrior. You can find me on Instagram at Brad Mines. You can find me at bradmines.com, where I have a whole bunch of exchange links, referrals. I do blogs. I post some digital media, all crypto related, of course. I am a big, as Doug said, I am a big Bitcoin guy, of course. Bitcoin gets the conversation started. Monero comes in a little bit later usually. As people get a little bit more comfortable with what cryptocurrency means and blockchain in the very complex space. You don't want to shove everything on them at once. So, yeah.
What are you drinking today, Brad? What do you
get? Canadian whiskey on the rocks, brother.
Nice, man.
So, cheers to you're in New York, so everybody in New York.
Yes.
And,
cheers to you, man. It was a rough week this week.
Oh, was it? Yes, it has been.
I have my day job, and then trying to do the Monero Talk by night. Yeah. But it's all fun. I mean, this is a project of love right here.
Oh, for sure.
So have you been?
Passion for sure.
Have you been in crypto for a while? Have you been doing this for a long time? What's your crypto story?
My crypto story. Well, I'm a politics major, so when I was finishing my last year in politics in 2012 at Brock University here in St. Catharines, I did come across Bitcoin, but getting a job, following that conventional life path was kind of more important to me at the time. So I ended up getting a job, moved out west, all that kind of thing, and forgot about Bitcoin until about mid 2017. I start, when the Trump and the North Korea confrontation kind of started, the nuclear talk, and Bitcoin was shooting up in the bull market there mid 2017. I think it hit $4,000 when it hit all the major mainstream media. I was paying attention. I know a guy out west who's he's buddies with Jesse Coach, who's got quite a few followers on Twitter, and he's big into the space as a developer. So that's kind of how I got into it. I started with Bitcoin and then slowly went in. I got in a few ICOs as the craze went in 2017, of course. Now, but
you initially got in when though? Like when? Yeah, I mean, you don't have to give me exact time, but like
what was? It would have been fall, October, maybe October 2017, September 2017, somewhere around there. My first Bitcoin purchase.
And then and Bitcoin was your first, or you started elsewhere?
Bitcoin was my first, and then it just went up so much. I decided to diversify, and then started learning more about the technology, because it's, as you know, it's probably really overwhelming as people enter this space. It's multidisciplinary, so there's a whole bunch of different people saying different things with different ideologies in this space. But I eventually started following the privacy god John McAfee on Twitter, and kind of following what he's been saying for the last couple of years about his philosophy, the libertarian. There's a lot of libertarians in this space. I don't consider myself a libertarian, but I think there's a lot of aspects of blockchain that satisfies the left and the right end of the political spectrum. So I think it's it's just good all around for social discourse. So I'm a huge advocate. I've been against the banks ever since I was in school studying, and Bitcoin is just it's the antidote, I feel like. So I've been nose deep. I work a day job as well, but when I'm not working, I'm always reading about crypto. I write about crypto. Like I say, I create digital media and post that online on a few different social platforms. I dabble in a bunch of different cryptos. Super interested in it. I'm not a maximalist anything, but I am a big supporter of privacy and privacy coins. I think it's fundamental rights. I mean, look at cash. I mean, how is that not private? You're dealing with cash. It's the same thing. It's nothing new. I think it has to be the standard, and it has to be built in the first layer too. I think that's where it's superior to your public blockchains like Bitcoin. Like, and I take it, and I came across your show probably last couple of months, and I see you at some of the different conventions. I liked your Tony Vase interview. You even had him admitting that Monero is one of the more interesting altcoins out there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that one. I saw the recent one you did with BitBoy there.
Yes, we're trying to get Andreas on.
that
Yeah, I think we're making some progress.
I got Andreas' book here, Mastering Bitcoin. That one's a little bit. It's definitely, it's a little thick to get through. But I'm working away, learning a little bit more every day, right?
Yeah. So what do you see as being kind of the value prop? Because you said you're not a maximalist of anything. I don't really consider. I like to not consider myself a maximalist of anything either. I say I'm a maximalist of digital cash, right? So whatever the one that's doing that the best. I don't know how true I am to that, but that's what I like to call myself. I don't know if obviously I'm a human after all. It's hard to be objective at all times, but I like to say that that's what I am, a maximalist of digital cash. So what do you see as the value proposition of crypto? Like, what do you see as its purpose, and which thing do you believe, or I assume you think some are better than others, right? Monero, Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Why?
Sure.
Why is Bitcoin and Monero better than whatever it is, Dogecoin?
Okay, well, I mean, you can't argue that the biggest network, right? Bitcoin has a network effect that no other coin has, or even is close to at this point in time. So I think you're going to have the Bitcoin gold status for a while as digital gold. But I think some of these other altcoins, even in the top 10, like Litecoin, you don't see as much development on Litecoin. So I think some of these are going to fall behind, whereas something like Bitcoin has something very unique, which is the biggest network, and you have Monero, which is the biggest privacy network, and Monero it's different than, say, even the second biggest. Is Zcash the second biggest? Would you say second
biggest privacy coin?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I mean, and even compared to Zcash, I mean, Zcash privacy is optional. So studies show that when privacy is optional, most of the time it's not used. So then as soon as you do make a private transaction, people are going to be all over you like white on rice, because they're going to be like, this guy's up to no good. Whereas if it's always private, then you don't have to worry about like you said, it's fungible. Everything's the same no matter where you put it. There's no censorship on it. Bitcoin, there's always going to be that risk of losing your privacy, and like I said, that's a fundamental right. It's no different than liquid cash in your hand or whatever. So that's why some of these coins are better. Like I said, Bitcoin, StackSats, Monero, I think it's gonna creep up past the rest of these top 10. Like, I'm on Coin Market Cap right now, and like some of these, I think it's inevitable that Monero goes up. But you even see Andreas Antonopoulos talking about how privacy coins are probably going to do well in the next bull run, because you have things like Libra coming out where it's going to be completely 100% compliant. So people are going to differentiate where they can, and privacy is the big one, right? Like, you're not going to be able to compete with that on any sort of government or big corporate level. It's got to have that open source. It's got to be distributed.
That's a good point. I do think that's going to start to differentiate Monero from the other. I mean, obviously we already see the differences, but yeah, like something like Libra will really start to make a stark contrast between these coins that are not private versus the ones that are. I don't even like to really call it a privacy coin, because I just see it as, this stuff is supposed to be that. It needs to be that for it to actually work. But that's kind of the name it's been given by
the community,
the masses out there, as an easy way to distinguish between what Monero is doing and what the others are doing. But Yeah, I mean, what do you think about Bitcoin then, given that it has this flaw of not being fungible? Do you think that's kind of a vital flaw, or do you think you could still stack sats and they'll be worth what, a lot of money in the future, even though they're not perfectly fungible?
I think crypto as a whole is very correlated. So I think that a lot of projects depend on Bitcoin to do well, and that's why I think although it has these flaws, Bitcoin went from 0 to 1. I don't know if you ever read that book by Peter Thiel, and it was like opening Pandora's box. So now you have
Mm.
something like that's completely revolutionary, and like I said, that network effect is big. Maybe there might be one competitor, and it's a private coin in the future that comes close to it. But I mean, it's gonna have to go like how much more quicker is it gonna have to go up than Bitcoin? And everybody that is new that comes into the space that doesn't really know too much about it, they always want to go with what everybody knows, and that's Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
that's the trend I see right now. And I think institutionally as well. I mean, you're not going to see institutional investment into Monero anytime soon. I don't think so. I think that's an obstacle, but I think Monero will gain a bigger user base because it stayed ASIC resistant over these years. But it does have, it still has a 5-year battle tested blockchain. So I think that's a strong asset with Monero. I mean, like that's good. It's good enough for me. I mean, to have a few coins, that's for sure. But yeah, I think some of these other coins are going to drop out. I think there's nothing unique enough about them.
Yeah.
Like Litecoin. I don't know. I dump my Litecoin.
Yeah. No, I just see Litecoin as a test net for
Yeah,
Bitcoin.
for
Uh,
sure.
but I mean, for me, kind of one of the eye openers was when I was a Bitcoin maximalist, and then I was like, started to go up in value, quite a bit, and I was like, wait a minute, and I would, I would barely use my Bitcoin like most people, right? It was just kind
Right.
of
Hodl
a
gang.
hodl thing, and then just going up in my, I used it a little bit here and there, just test it out. But for me, the real eye opener was I would go and look at the blockchain, all the time, be like, oh, let me see my transactions going from here to there, and
Right.
if I sent it to somebody, or I sent it to a friend, and I was like, you know what, the guy I just sent it to can go look at
Yeah.
and see all the, even though it was like my good friend, it was still like weirding me out. Like he could go see all my money,
Right.
he could
Exactly.
he could see my bank account now.
Yeah.
Uh, and that was the eye. So I imagine, as I feel like a lot of people are going to go through that once they start actually, they're in the early phases, but
Right.
maybe they bought that, they're stacking sats now, but once those sats, once it starts to go up in value from whatever they have, and they start sending it around, they're like,
Hmm.
wait a minute, do I want the whole world to
No.
know what I have? Or, every time I send a trade, I do feel like there's going to be that tipping point where everybody starts to realize that, right? I mean,
Right.
how is that
Mm.
not the case?
Right.
That's the way I look at
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Did you ever have that realization, like that moment where you're
Yes.
like, wait a
Yes.
minute?
I agree with your point that once you start actually using it, that's when you realize, well, wow, yeah, I just made a transaction. Now, whoever I made a transaction with can see my wallet balance for the rest of the time. So now I have to, if I want to be private, I have to create a new account, a new Bitcoin wallet, and then transfer it over there, which is a pain in the ass, right? So it does have a major flaw in that sense. But again, I think it acts as, like I said from the beginning, it's multidisciplinary. So it acts as a way of transfer of digital cash, but it also acts as a store of value. And I think that store of value aspect and that big long chain might prolong its number one spot in market cap for a long time to come. Do I think in the long future, maybe at least a decade out, maybe it can be dethroned. I think that is a possibility. I don't rule any possibilities. However, I don't see it anytime soon. I don't know. It's just got that status. It's just, but
I gotta
again,
imagine anybody that has a decent amount of Bitcoin, whatever it has, millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin, is wishing and hoping that it was essentially is was Monero, acted like, it's like you have it,
Yes.
it's great, it's growing, but wouldn't it be even better if it was anonymous and private and nobody, having $10 million is one thing, but having $10 million that nobody knows about that you can hide perfectly, and I mean that's a whole nother level there.
There's a danger aspect to having your funds public, right? And that you're a wanted man, criminal. There's always going to be income inequality, and there's always going to be people that have that allure to maybe rob you or something if they know you have that money, if it's public, if it's out there. I mean, you can always. I don't know. There is a lot of developers in that space that are working on trying to improve these second, third layer options, but yeah, I think Monero has, and privacy is just a fundamental aspect, and there's always going to be a market for it. So I think, and as Bitcoin goes up, I mean, people and other altcoins go down, people are more inclined to diversify. Always, I think that's a trend too.
Yeah. I also think, like you said, once people start using it, also I think once companies start using it, right? So like nobody's really using it that much either in terms of actual commerce, and companies are, once there's companies running on crypto and they're accepting crypto and then they're using it to purchase the, their to pay off their suppliers or whatever it may be. That realization is going to be there too. It's like every move I make in my company where I'm spending money, using money, is now public to the whole world. I mean, that's just a bad strategy, right? As a company, I mean, you don't want your competitors to know everything that you're doing. So I imagine there's going to be those realizations too. I just don't think that's happening yet, because I just don't think it's really being used that much.
Yeah, exactly. Most people I know buy Bitcoin and just hold on to it because they see that they feel like it's an early industry, in which definitely is. But that's why I say I'm not a maximalist with any, because I think public blockchains have their advantages in some aspects. Maybe you want votes to be on a public blockchain, or something that you want to be transparent, where there's no cheating involved, will bring benefit to society. Maybe a public blockchain is good in that aspect, but
I don't know if public's the right word, right? I think public, because I think Monero is also is a public, but they're both public and open. Right. I get what you're saying though. Transparent.
Transparent. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Where anybody can just go up and look up the blockchain and every address, like Bitcoin, basically. That's what I mean.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So let me shoot it back at you. When did you get into crypto, and when did you make the spin over to Monero?
Yeah, that's a good question. So like, I don't like to give exact dates year, but
yeah.
I was actually, my story is pretty, I've told it on here before. It's pretty funny.
Okay.
My first crypto, I had heard about crypto, like everybody else, you heard about it, but you never really did anything. Yeah. I bought my first crypto purchase was actually Dogecoin. When Doge first launched. I was like, I missed the Bitcoin thing. I didn't understand. I never stopped to look at Bitcoin and understand the technology. I just saw it as, I had heard about DigiGold in the past, and I always thought that was a cool idea. And then I knew that had failed. And I was like, oh, there's this Bitcoin thing. I'm like, I'm sure that's going to fail as well, right? Because they always get shut down, like DigiCash, or is it DigiCash or DigiGold? And so I just saw Bitcoin as being another one of those things that will eventually fail. The government will come in and will shut it down. I didn't understand that it was decentralized and all this. I didn't understand. I didn't read the white paper, right? So Bitcoin at that time was going up in price. I was like, all right, I missed that. And then Dogecoin came. I was like, let me just try to throw a few dollars into this and just see if I can, 10x my money, because that seems to be what happens. So I bought like $50 of Dogecoin, and it was on Christmas Eve, and I bought it from somebody on Reddit. That's actually what got me into Reddit. I was never even a Reddit person, but I was like, how do I even get? I was like doing Googling, and I found my way onto Reddit, and I was like, found my way into the Doge Reddit, and then I literally just sent somebody through PayPal $50, and they sent me Doge. But they sent it to an online wallet, right? It was an online wallet because I didn't know anything. And I woke up the next morning and I go to like check my online wallet, my web wallet, and it was gone. There was no Doge. And I was like, what? I was like, this is horrible. I'm like, so everybody that buys this stuff, it just gets stolen? I'm like, that can't be the case. I'm like,
welcome to crypto.
I'm like, there's got to be more to it. I'm like, so then but that it was the best $50 I ever spent or lost, because then I started to read about it, right? Like that day I became obsessed about it. I was like, there's no way everybody's just getting hacked and getting their stuff stolen every day. So obviously I started reading about it. I was like, oh, you shouldn't store your stuff on an online wallet. The way crypto works is you have your private key, your public, as long as you have your own key, it's yours. Yes. And I was like, oh, that's wow. I'm like, that's amazing. Then I like, that was when, the light bulb went off and I was like, this is tremendous. Yeah. Right. And that's when I instantly started, buying Bitcoin. I don't even know what the price was. I didn't care what the price was at the time. I was like, I think it was at like $1,000 or something. And it was on its way down from that big bubble in 2013, 14. Okay. And I started buying and I, bought all the way down, and I didn't, I was listening to Andreas Antonopoulos. And I was like, yeah. I remember like what was the big exchange that went down? I'm blanking on it now. I
don't know.
The huge exchange that went down in 2014. And I was like, but I wasn't fazed by it at all, because I was like, doesn't matter. That's not Bitcoin. That's just an exchange. So I had what I thought was a pretty good understanding of the time. I think my only concern was like 51% attacks. Like I was a little worried about that concept. That was like kind of like the missing piece for me. And that seemed to work itself out, because there was even a scare with Bitcoin. So it seemed like anything that, like any of the scares that came about, it was Gox, Mount Gox, right?
Yeah,
Mount Gox was, so when Mount Gox, I was like thrilled when Mount Gox was hacked, because like the price just plummeted even more. And I was like, oh, I could get more Bitcoin,
you understand Bitcoin when you don't mind the red days.
When you're happy about the price going down.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that was my Bitcoin, and then I would read about on Reddit once in a while. On Bitcoin Reddit, you'd see a post every now and then where people were like, hey, Bitcoin's great, but you could see all the transactions, and there's these companies now that are being created to basically scan the blockchain and connect all the transactions. And I was like, all right. I was like, big deal. I'm like, it didn't really hit me on a fundamental level as to why that's such a big flaw. Until, like I said, I forget what it really was. It was really just kind of the using of it myself, and looking at it on the blockchain and being like, wait a minute, that's a tremendous deal. I'm like, that's huge. I'm like, the whole thing's broken if that's the case, because now you can blacklist coins, and one Bitcoin. When I realized that one Bitcoin doesn't equal one Bitcoin, I was like, that's a fundamental flaw. Right. If this is supposed to be a protocol for transferring value, it doesn't work if on the protocol level, every unit doesn't equal every other unit. And that's when I had heard about Monero, and I wish I had, got into it a little earlier. And that's when I made the change into Monero. And then once I started buying Monero, I was like, why am I even like, Bitcoin's great, but if the way I'm understanding it is correct, this is a vital flaw. And that's really what put me over the edge. So yeah, that's how I became a Monero guy. That's how I got into crypto.
And how has like Monero been in terms of market cap in the top, since you got into it? Was Monero back then, was it still one of the top, because it only came out in 2014?
Yeah, it came out in 2014, and it was always kind of like near the top, it was always like near the top 10. And then I think at one point it went up pretty high, like during the 2017 bubble. I think we got as high as number 4 or 5, maybe. I don't even know.
Really?
I think I could be getting that wrong. But I think we did get up. We got up pretty high at one point. But like I said, just like with Bitcoin, I just saw it as an opportunity to buy Monero. So even now, I mean, my only hesitation I wanted to do this show because there was no nobody really explaining this flaw that Bitcoin has. And
Yeah.
I was very frustrated with what I saw as being the hypocrisy in the Bitcoin community of all these people that believed in Bitcoin as being digital gold and being this cypherpunk thing that's used,
Yeah.
and but it lacked these attributes that would allow it to do that. So I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I wanted to ask these people these questions. I wanted to talk to, you know, Tone Vase, Andreas Antonopoulos,
Yeah.
all these guys that are
Yeah.
talking it up and be like, well, I don't get it, guy. Like, so you believe in this, you believe in this technology so great because it's censorship resistant, yet it's got this vital flaw. It's really not censorship resistant. It's really not
Mm-hmm.
unconfiscatable. I mean, if I know you
Mm-hmm.
have your Bitcoin, sure, you could hold it on your key, but if
Mm-hmm.
I know where you live and I know you have it, it's basically confiscatable. So I wanted to talk to these people, and that's why I started the show. And my only
Yeah.
hesitation, actually, with starting the show is like I actually didn't want to promote Monero because I see it as a good opportunity to just, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
buy Monero. I
Yeah.
rather, it's
You
like
know what though?
it.
On that point though, I think it's, if you know about this stuff and you understand it, I think it's somewhat part of our civic duty to let people know about these tools that we can use. I mean, like, these are gonna make the biggest changes in the world. It can
Right.
flip
And
so
yet at
many
the end of the
things.
day, you do need to promote it, right? Because
Yeah,
you need to grow the network, right? So
for sure.
its value comes from people using it and the network growing. So, but I did see it a little bit as like, oh, I found this island that has a bunch of gold on it. Why am I going to go tell everybody where the
Yeah.
island is? You know.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
but yeah, at the same time, you do have to grow the network. So that's what got me into doing the show as well. So,
Yeah. That's
but
awesome,
yeah.
man. You've interviewed some great people in this space, man. So you travel around to a lot of events then too?
I mean, I went to I went to the Denver Monero Con. That was like Monero's first real event, and then I went to the event in Vegas, DEF CON. Monero has the village there. Those are the two big ones. Oh, and then
Hmm.
I'm in New York, so we did the Crypto Friends. I don't know if you follow that at all. They had a big event in New York City, Magical Crypto Friends. That was kind of like the first conference we went to. That was the one where I interviewed like a lot of Bitcoin maximalists on the spot. Like the Max
Yeah.
Kaiser interview that I did there was great because you really start like you start to hear these people when you ask them about
Yeah.
Monero. It's like they're like, well, actually, I like I like
Yeah.
Monero too.
Yeah. So that's a
Yeah,
big aspect that I want
yeah,
to actually, like, that speaks loud to me, is that all these big people in the space, even the Bitcoin maximalists, will come out and say that Monero is one of the better altcoins.
right.
So I mean, they do admit that there's these superior aspects that Bitcoin has to traditional money, but then over time it's lost some of them, and Monero, revitalizes that in a new coin that kind of fixes these problems that we've seen over the first 5 years of Bitcoin. Obviously privacy being one of the bigger ones, and the continuing mining aspect too, right? Like Bitcoin mining rewards are always going to be what, point 0.3 Monero, right?
Point
Is it
two, I
point
think, right?
point
Yeah.
two or is it point 0.3? Okay, yeah, but again, that's something
Wait,
that
wait, wait, what are you
seems
saying? The big, you said the
like
Monero
the
mining
mine,
rewards?
yeah, the Monero mining
Oh
rewards,
yeah, yeah.
but
Once the tail
yeah.
emission kicks in,
Hmm.
yeah. So I mean, right now we're like Bitcoin in that the mining reward gets smaller and smaller, but then we're gonna level off. Yeah.
Right, right. So yeah, it fixes a lot of problems. Um,
Oh wait, I'm just realizing we need to do. I need to do my
oh yeah.
sponsor break. So
All right, perfect.
recently, we never had a sponsor on the show. There you go. So our official sponsor is Cake Wallet. Uh, do you have a wallet? Do you have a Monero wallet? I assume you must, right?
I do. I do. I was
Okay.
actually going to bring that up next with you,
Hmm.
and what you prefer. I use BitFi. I have it right here. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, it's a different way of storing of cold storage. It's like a different. I wouldn't consider it cold storage. Basically, it's sort of like a brain wallet, but it's its own thing where it calculates your keys as you need it. So your keys are never stored anywhere. You remember a phrase in your head, which
Hmm.
calculates your keys And then they have like they're all open source and they have programs you can download. So
But it's it's a hardware wallet
it's a
essentially.
hardware wallet.
Okay.
It's a hardware wallet. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And then do you don't use like an iOS wallet or an Android wallet? You don't even keep on your phone?
I know it's not recommended, and I don't hold anything on it, but I have Free Wallet on my phone. I don't recommend it.
No, yeah, why
No,
are you
it's the
doing
worst
that?
one. I know.
Yeah. All right, download Cake Wallet, man. Like do
Cake
that as
Wallet.
soon as we hang
Let's
up.
do it right now.
You have
I'm doing it now.
iOS? You have iOS?
I have both.
Okay.
I have both.
Yeah. So Cake Wallet, I don't know if you know the whole story with so Monero didn't have an iOS wallet for quite some time. Monero Uju is great. The Android wallet's open source and everything. And then there was a lack of iOS wallet. I don't think there was nothing before Cake, and everybody was waiting. I forget for the other one that was going to launch. Everybody was waiting for the iOS wallet to launch, and Cake came out of the blue. They didn't even. There was no talk.
So Cake is only on iOS?
Cake is only on iOS. They're going to be coming out with an Android as well. Okay. If you're going to do Android, use Monero Uju. It's open source. But yeah, what's so great about Cake is that it's open source. It's respected by the community. It's been audited, and you hold your own keys. So those are like the things you need, right?
Yes.
So it's good. Does the job.
That's awesome.
My Monero is also a good wallet, but it's not as pure in that when you use my Monero, you basically they have your view key, and it makes for a slicker, potentially slicker in that it updates faster, but you don't. There might be some privacy concerns there in terms of if you're a Monero purist, Cake Wallet is the way to go, and it functions. It does everything you need it to do, and you truly hold your own keys. And it's the way to go.
Can you hold other coins on Cake Wallet?
No, it's only currently Monero. Okay. Yeah, but they have they integrated with Morph Token and XMR.to, so you could seamlessly exchange coins, but you currently can only hold Monero. I think they might add that you could hold Bitcoin at some point. There was talk of that, but right now it's just about holding Monero.
Okay.
And they're going to be coming out with an Android wallet soon.
Okay.
But don't use Free Wallet. I mean, I hate to bash any, but that's like it's known as
it's the worst one. I know it's on.
It's bad because it's not open source. It's not open source, so you may open that wallet just like with Dogecoin when I the great Christmas hack of Dogecoin. You don't want to wake up one morning and your Monero is gone. Man.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely don't put any sort of large volumes on there or anything, but just had it on my phone because I do a little mining. I need to get what's the best miner do you find for? Do you dabble in mining at all?
No, me and a buddy of mine, we were going to do it a few years ago with Monero, and we bought the miner. He's a lot more technical than I am, and we bought the miners and we put it together, and then we didn't have access to cheap enough electricity, so it wasn't really it didn't really make sense for us.
Right.
So we didn't end up doing it. But now I'm sure, are you aware of the upgrade that's coming up in October, or actually I think November is when it actually kicks in?
I don't know a lot about it. Could you?
So we're implementing a new proof of work, which is RandomX, and RandomX is going to, like you were saying, Monero is always trying to be ASIC resistant. Yeah. So RandomX is the kind of hopefully the holy grail of ASIC resistance, and the idea is that the new ASIC for Monero will be the CPU itself. So the best way to mine Monero will be by CPU. So idea being anybody with a computer, with computing access to computing power, a CPU can mine Monero. Obviously, you're going to want to have, I guess, a certain type of computer. A CPU will mine it better than others. It's not yet known exactly which, but so that's pretty cool. So it's going to be obviously hopefully leading to more distributed network, because it won't be about, ASIC mining farms or even GPU mining farms, but computers around the world will be able to mine Monero, which was kind of like the original vision of all this.
Right.
So
right.
I don't know. I don't know what the best mining setup is right now, but you should look into it, because now is the time, because they're about to change the proof of work. So
okay. Do you know when that's going live?
it's going live. I think it actually goes live in early November, when it actually gets like turned on the actual Monero network. Yeah, but yeah, we talk about it on the show quite a bit. I think that's a huge breakthrough. It's not something that's like not even really talked about enough. It's kind of a, it's when you look at these things and you try to value them. I mean, one of the things I think you should be taking into account too is the what type of breakthroughs are happening in the communities, right? It's like we said, Litecoin, right? Litecoin is just a test net. There's no breakthroughs coming out of Litecoin. They adopted segregated witnesses before Bitcoin, but that's because they just took it from anything they've ever adopted has been taken from Bitcoin, and but the Monero community is like inventing new things, new technology that's not happening anywhere else. It's literally coming out of the Monero community, and that's just a testament to the fact of the brain power that's part of this community. I mean, RandomX is, it's a breakthrough. The fact that, if it works, and by every measure it's supposed to work, it was audited by a bunch of, highly respected companies that do this type of thing. And that's a breakthrough. I mean, the fact that you'll have a coin that's truly ASIC resistant is, I don't think people are realizing the ramifications of that.
Okay, just to push back a little bit, just to play devil's advocate, what some say that if a coin is valuable enough, there will always become ASIC miners. There'll always be that incentive to find some, make that next thing happen.
Well, Monero's had ASICs in the past. We've had ASICs, and then we've forked away from them, because we fork every 6 months currently. That may change, and we changed our proof of work, and it booted all the ASICs. So the idea is, with RandomX, the thinking is that it will be pretty much impossible to. Basically, if you want to create an ASIC, an ASIC is just the most efficient way of mining a certain proof of work, right? Like you create a computer that can mine it better than anything else. That's what an ASIC is, right? So RandomX is designed in such a way that the thing that will mine it the best is a CPU. So that is the ASIC of Monero. Now it's, obviously this isn't proven yet. This is theoretical. So yeah, nobody knows. So yeah, like you said, devil's advocate. I can't predict the future, but based on the audits and the intelligent people that are behind it, the thinking is that it will be ASIC resistant for quite some time, and that RandomX itself will, it will be updated. That's not a static thing either. I'm sure there'll be improvements made to RandomX itself.
I thought that Monero was going to stop. I don't know if this is true or not. I thought I read this somewhere that Monero was going to stop forking after this past one, where all the last ASIC miners dropped off.
Yeah, well, the idea is that eventually Monero will stop forking. I don't think there's any set timeline yet as to when. I think what's going to happen is it's going to stop forking every 6 months, and so maybe it will fork every year, and then I think eventually, that time frame will get longer and longer to the point where it doesn't need to fork anymore. But I think forking, it obviously there's pros and cons, right? I think that the pro is the fact that it's not ossified. In Bitcoin land, they'll say ossification is a good thing, right? Because it's digital gold. You don't want it to change in any way. That's like the agreement with the social contract is, here's the protocol. It's not going to change.
Yeah,
which is great in theory if you already have achieved digital gold or digital cash status. Once you achieve that, sure, ossify, but it hasn't achieved it yet. Very clearly has not achieved it yet. It's not fungible. So if you could achieve that, then you can ossify and become a protocol that doesn't change. So the idea with Monero is, I think Monero is just being a little more honest about it, saying, we're continuing to evolve, and we haven't gotten to where we need to be yet, where we're ready to stop evolving.
Got you. Okay, so
Yeah,
there's no
yeah.
time. There's no timeline on it then. Okay.
No, there's no timeline.
Well, that's good. That
Yeah.
that just put Monero a little bit higher, even.
So yeah, man, I feel like I'm just spewing all Monero to you. What else do you want to talk about?
That was good. That was good. That's you know what, like, I'm all about obviously privacy, but mass adoption too. So I mean, on my website, I have other cryptocurrencies that I dabble in, and things that I'm interested in.
What compels you to dabble in other? I'm gonna open up my Corona. What compels you to dabble in other coins? That's something I've always wondered when I see people that get into crypto. How they come across a lot of these projects. I mean, there's so many of them, and I just often wonder how they even get pulled into them.
Right. Well, like word of mouth. Word of mouth, and what you hear, you research, do your own research for sure. Like I said, I got in at early at a time where lots of different projects were launching ICOs, and a lot of them were interesting. And you put blockchain on anything, and it went 10 times, right? So I don't know. Like, I just mess around a little bit. I think it's fun. I think using cryptocurrencies as part of this revolution. Like, for instance, Electronium on my phone. Sure, it's you just download it, and they'd have this like mobile mining thing, and I just partake in. I like doing it as a hobby, just learn about how they're doing things differently, and there's different ways of getting people to enter into this space. So, like, again, just using this Electronium as an example, because they have this nice where you can transfer right in the wallet, and they give you free cryptocurrency, right? Like, it's not worth a whole lot now, but it's really it's a lot to people that are in third world countries where cryptocurrency is going to benefit people the most. So a lot of people don't have bank accounts, and billions of people don't have bank accounts all across the world, and they target a different audience. Whereas Bitcoin, people see Bitcoin as, oh well, it's it's $10,000, or it's whatever, it's $8,000 right now, American, and it's too expensive. And new people, like, I don't know, it's just some natural tendency that they see a cheaper coin and they like to buy, they like to get into it. I don't know, maybe we'll see, and as Bitcoin gets more and more expensive, people have that kind of a mindset. Even stocks too. You look at stocks, some people just think, I mean, it's not a good way to think, but people just look at the price, and they don't look at the market cap, the fundamentals, and the market cap compared to the circulating supply and the max supply. So I think it's just interesting. And like I said, I think there's different blockchains for different use cases. And so when you say, like, what's the best blockchain out there, it depends on what you're doing, I think. So I think Monero is great in terms of everything that Bitcoin was wanting to be, in terms of peer-to-peer electronic cash, and this empowerment of having your own asset that you can move across the world where there's no restrictions. I think Monero is great for that, in terms of value being stored, value being moved. But again, there are some different types of blockchains. Like Ethereum is definitely a little bit different than just the value of transfer there.
So what are the other ones that you're interested in, and what do you see the use cases being?
I like Bitcoin. I like Ethereum for smart contracts. I like what's the other one? Basic attention token. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, I think that's kind of that's an interesting project. I haven't looked much into it, but when I first heard about it, I was like, oh, that sounds like it might be a use case there.
Yeah. So like I said, not everything's gonna.
Is that doing well?
What's it at right now? 222 million. You know what? I haven't checked the browser lately. I don't.
Is it used actively? I mean,
I don't think it's completely 100%. Not where I am anyway. maybe somewhere else. But I think some people might be able to use the basic attention token within their Brave browser.
Oh
But
wait, people are saying they can't really hear you too well. I don't know if you could raise your mic at all. Hopefully,
how's it? Can you hear me now?
I hear you fine. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Hold on one second. Okay. Oh, that doesn't work. All right, let's try this, folks.
Oh yeah, it's a lot louder. I hope they I hope they heard you for the first 40 minutes of the show.
Yeah. Oh shit.
I heard
We'll
you the
see.
entire time.
Yeah. Well, it's been a great conversation, nonetheless.
I know. So all right. So BAT, Ethereum, BAT.
Yeah. Right, let's see. What else did I say? Privacy, like Monero is my number one privacy coin. I have a few other ones. I have medical token currency, MTC, where they do the it's like live free medical healthcare over the phone. It's like telemedicine.
But why do you need a coin for that? What is that? Why do you need a crypto for that? What's the point?
The point, I guess, is just being able to participate in their ecosystem. And if you want to participate in their system, here's their coin. I don't know. I'm not saying that it's 100% going to work out. It's a very small market cap, speculative. Again, it's just one of those.
What made you think it's an interesting project, though? What made you?
I thought it was an interesting project because it helps a lot of people, and it's a very I don't know, a project with a lot of morale behind it, where they again try to give medical telemedicine for free to people that don't have it. So and they do this through a token, like through tokenomics. And I don't know, it's they seem like they're live in all of South America. I think they're live in Florida. I think there's a few states that they're live in. They're expanding to other countries, and there's just a lot of people that don't have access to healthcare. It's obviously a big issue when you look at politics. Healthcare is always on the agenda, and this is basically free consultation, and you get rewarded with their coin when you volunteer to upload your information to the blockchain for statistics and whatnot. So
okay, so there's an incentive there. So the coin is about incentivizing people to upload. That's interesting.
Right. So there's a whole different there's a lot of different aspects to it.
I guess people would say, why not use Bitcoin for that? Why does it need to be its own coin? Why not use Monero? Why not use Bitcoin? Why not use why does it have to be its own blockchain? I guess would be the devil's advocate.
Right. Well, again, something like Monero, regulators may not want you to use Monero. So I mean that's a given. But Bitcoin, where you have a transparent blockchain, I mean maybe there will be. Maybe it's a difficult time to do that, but whereas on the Ethereum network you can kind of just create your own token. I don't know. It's a good launching point. Maybe I don't know. Maybe they'll change over. I don't know. But it seems like the company as a whole is stable as a company. They're doing something that a lot of people are looking into, and they think it's a morale project. So again, I'm not all in or anything like that. But I just dabble here. I diversify. You always have your speculative ones.
Yeah, I mean, you have you listen to the Tone Vases of the world, and everything's a shitcoin. I'm not, nothing wrong with the experimentation, and this is the way these things are going to evolve. There's a reason why thousands of coins exist. I mean, it's open source technology. People are free to do what they want with it. To bash every project, I think, is naive. Think that's how invention happens, is through experimentation. So. I mean, I can't speak to any of these projects you're talking about, really. I mean, I've heard, but I've heard of BAT. I've heard of, the one, Electronium or whatever it is. But I'm overall, philosophically, I'm not opposed to people experimenting with these what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they have a vision, and they have a business plan, maybe it'll work out. I know, like,
I do think there's a lot of scams out there, though. Don't get me wrong. I do think
oh yeah,
the
oh yeah,
vast majority are
yeah,
scams
yeah.
without a
I'm not,
true
yeah,
value proposition that aren't really offering anything. But
for sure, and I definitely have been victim to that as well. Uh, Not ashamed to say, I mean, it happens. There's some really elaborate scams in this space. I don't know if you've seen any of them, but like, I don't know, like back in 2017, like there was like BitConnect, which was like what, top 15 coin.
yeah, but I
I
mean, it
mean,
was so
how
blatantly a scam
well,
from day one. You know,
but then it grows to a multi-billion-dollar market cap, and
I
you're
mean
like,
that's just a testament to
yeah,
what most humans are like. They're
mhm,
unfortunately, easily scammed.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, and then that's where Bitcoin gets its FUD, right?
Yep, 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 yep. Some will say Bitcoin is the ultimate scam.
Yeah, just a fad scam.
Yeah, that'd be that's a scary thought when you think about it once in a while. It's like, oh, whoa,
Yeah,
imagine.
yeah, yeah. Again, I'm not phased when people try to put it down, or put me down for being involved with it or being too involved with it. I mean, like when you like we understand, we know the fundamentals, and I think when you know the fundamentals, you're not scared when it drops $1,000 in an hour. You don't really care because it goes up $1,000 in an hour.
Right, right, right.
So
That's why I really like to. That's why I choose a project that I feel is like really living up to an ideal of what crypto is. Otherwise, it's a scary place out there with all this
no,
crypto stuff. Yeah.
very very scary. Um, yeah, go ahead.
I just realized I should mention Gratuitous is a project we started, not a scam. Not trying to be a coin. It's not a coin of any type. It's basically we're selling coffee. We're starting with coffee. We're going to be adding other products, but we're selling coffee. We have coffee from Brazil from this farm that we hooked up with. And what's unique about it is when you buy the coffee, you can tip the farmers directly that produced it with Monero.
Oh
So
wow.
no coins involved other than Monero itself. And then so this idea, I think we could apply to a lot of things. So it doesn't just have to be coffee. It could be tea, it could be honey, it could be anything you think of that's getting produced by. We're thinking first like people in like third world countries, right? That like maybe they get paid $1 a day, and they're producing something that's getting consumed in the first world for quite a bit of money, right? Like I go to a Starbucks or the hipster coffee shop in Brooklyn. I buy a coffee for $5, and the barista expects like $1 tip, and meanwhile the guy who farmed it is making a dollar,
Half that.
literally a dollar a
Yeah.
day. So
Yeah.
now this is a way. So we're doing it as a way to kind of fund the operation here, fund the show,
Okay.
and
Okay.
to give Monero another use case with peer to peer tipping. Yeah, so I'm just throwing that in there because I like to now get that out there to our audience so people know. So yeah, if you want to support the show in that way, that's a great way. If you drink coffee, you like Monero, buy your daily cup from Gratuitous, and it will go a long way. What do you think of the concept?
I think it's cool. Is there a website I can go to?
Go to gratuitous.org. Gratuitous.org.
And I can buy coffee with Monero.
You could buy the coffee. You could buy the coffee with Monero, Bitcoin. You could just pay in dollars. But then the idea is once you have the coffee, there's a QR code where if you send Monero to it, it goes directly to the farmers that farmed it.
Gotcha.
Because
That's
we
awesome.
set them up with their own wallets. So it's like they don't even need a phone. All they need is their private keys. So
That's a pretty sweet concept. I like seeing things like that where you actually do just adopt, a living coin. You don't gotta launch your own
right, right,
your own ERT20.
yeah, yeah.
You just you adopt it, and I'm and as time goes by, I do become more concentrated on the bigger coins, and adopting some of the ones that already exist, like Monero, for instance. Um, yeah.
Cool, man.
I think it's great.
Anything else you want to chat about, or otherwise we'll wrap it up at the hour mark.
Are we at an hour already? Wow.
We're almost. I know it goes fast, right? We're 5 minutes.
Man.
Almost 5 minutes to an hour.
I love talking crypto, man. Time flies whenever I'm talking crypto. Time flies, man.
I know.
That's it, man. I'll just say, if you wanna catch me, I'm on Twitter at BitFi Warrior and BradMinds.com. You can hit me up on Instagram at BradMinds.
What's the connection with you? You can continue with your.
Yeah.
Let me not interrupt your thing. But what's your connection with BitFi?
I'm just simply a user. I saw them upon their launch, and I needed a hardware wallet. I didn't have one at the time, and I did my research and how they store your keys compared to other hardware wallets. And I think this is just a superior way. There's a lot of people there's some people out there that hate on it, but because they had.
Why do people hate on it?
People hate on it because they had a bounty. Where they said, okay, here's some Bitcoin on here. If you can hack this, one of our bounty wallets, we'll give you, I forget how much it was, but a sum of money. And people were getting the device, and somebody was able to extract private keys off of it, but it wasn't in the scenario of the bounty program. So then they criticized the company for saying, oh, you didn't pay out the bounty. They just said all this stuff, but none of it was if you read the bounty and the rules, well, okay, then yeah, you didn't follow the rules. But
why are you such an avid fan given like the other options out there? Like there's other hardware options. So
the biggest difference is that I can lose this BitFi device and it doesn't matter because it doesn't actually hold my keys on it. Where a lot of hardware wallets, they have your keys directly stored on the wallet. So if I lose it, I lose my money, and possibly someone can steal it through forensics or whatever. If you have enough resources, you could probably do it. But BitFi, I can lose it. And it doesn't matter at all. I can go cross border because it doesn't actually store anything, so I don't have to say that I have $10,000 on the customs form. If I have over $10,000 in my wallet.
Oh, because you're saying it's not actually stored on the device.
Exactly.
It doesn't store your private keys. It doesn't hold your private keys.
That's correct.
So what is?
So think of it as a calculator. It's a calculator. So you type in a phrase that you remember. I think it's got to be a minimum of 7 words. So say it's, I don't know, I like to play basketball on Tuesday afternoons is your password that you remember in your head. You've never put it online. You've never connected it to the internet. It's something you remember in your head. And then when you type that into your device, that can activate the transaction. So it calculates what your private key is based on your secret phrase. So something that's stored in your head, so no one else can get it. I don't have, you can steal my wallet. It doesn't matter. The only way that someone can ever hack me and find out what my private key is if I tell them, which obviously I wouldn't do. So that's why I like it, where it's like cross border. I can go and I can retrieve my keys without anything. I don't need a device if I want to send money out. I need a device. I can recover my keys from a program that they have that's online. I have it on my website as well. You can recover your keys that way. But I like it because it empowers the individual. But it's good for long-term hodling. If you want to, I don't say it's good for everyday transactions, but it's good if you want to hold long-term. And it's Monero compatible, which is awesome. They're actually big fans of Monero. They like it.
Cool. I got to think more about it. I don't know much about it. So that's cool. But you can store your Monero on there, or you're
absolutely.
Not. Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, it's not something that for quick transactions, because you got to open the device, you got to type in, you have a salt and a secret phrase that you type in that'll calculate what your private keys are. And
right, like any hardware wallet, it's really not meant for day-to-day transactions.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So good for long-term holding. It's been working out because there was so much controversy over it. I've been really close with the company, just chatting to them on social media, asking them every question along the way. I've even wrote about it a couple of times because they've gotten a lot of hate for the bounty. And then you had John McAfee coming out, and he challenged some hacker, offered him $20 million to come stay at his house to hack it.
Oh, I saw that McAfee's following you on Twitter. Is that?
That's true. I have a couple of pretty sweet Twitter followers.
That's awesome, man.
he's retweeted a couple of my articles and a couple of some of the,
Get him on Monero Talk.
Man, I'm
We've
trying
reached
to
him out. I
yeah,
really want to
yeah. I'd love to see him on your
we need
show,
to
man.
hear what he says about Monero. Like
He always talks about Monero. He
but
always mentions it.
he's also blurted out a lot of other privacy coins. But yeah, then
Yeah,
he seems to. There was,
yeah,
I guess it was during the 2000, during the bubble. He was just trying to pump everything.
yeah. He
But
did pump a lot of shit in the bubble, but when the
I would
bubble
love to
was
really hear him, like,
yeah,
black and white for a bit. Like, what's your deal on
yeah.
Monero versus others? Yeah.
You might have to warn your viewers before he comes on your show. For some profanity, if you have any minors on listening. But yeah, no, he's awesome. He when he talks about privacy coins, he says they're totally the future, and he always mentions Monero as like
Yeah.
usually the first one he talks about is Monero. Yeah, he does mention.
No, yeah, I know
too,
he's got some weird things in the he's got some weird background, weird things in the closet. But yeah, when he speaks, I do listen to him. I mean, I think
yeah,
the guy he's a cowboy, and
for sure.
he's kind of a futurist in some ways. I think he does have a good handle on where things are going. As crazy as he is and as outlandish as he is,
Absolutely.
I definitely listen to what the guy has to say. And you were into him before he even was like the crypto guy. You were like
Um,
in another realm
uh,
sphere. You
you know what? No, I can't say that I was a major like fan of his beforehand. Like I knew who he was obviously, but and I've seen him in the tabloids, but it was really cryptocurrency that really kind of had me delve in and follow him, see absolutely everything that he's saying. Actually, I was able to meet him in Thailand. I was at the conference in Thailand in what was that the end of right in the beginning of 2018. There was a blockchain cruise. I
okay?
was there in Thailand visiting, just on holiday, and I was able to meet him, and I met who else? Ronnie Moaz
Okay,
as well. He's like yeah, he used to be like he's a big stock guy, but now he's big Bitcoin guy. I don't know if
cool,
you know him,
man.
but he's on Twitter too. You
Yeah,
check him out.
I've seen him on Twitter.
Yeah.
Very cool.
All right, man. Well,
All right, man.
thanks for
Yeah,
having me on your show. This is great.
hook up the McAfee. Get it going. Get him on Monero
Yeah,
Talk.
yeah. All right, I'll do my best.
All right, man. Thanks for coming on. It was a pleasure. I think this is a perfect Friday night episode. Got to
Yeah,
relax and just chill out and talk crypto.
yeah. I love it, man. Thanks for having me on. Nice meeting you,
Yep.
Doug.
Good luck. Good one.
All
Have a
right,
good one.
you too. See ya.
Ciao.